This is gonna blow your mind. My name is Joshua and this is my warp engine design. As the car moved quietly down the road, a gentle rain began to fall. A single raindrop hit the windshield and slid smoothly down the glass. It wasn't pushing the glass out of the way, it was gliding over the surface, carried by its own tiny bubble of water. In that simple, everyday moment, something clicked. Looking at the raindrop, then at the road ahead, a realization began to form. The car was moving forward, but the road itself was staying still. The car was creating a little bubble of movement in the world. What if you could do the same thing with space itself? What if you could create a bubble, not of air or water, but of space-time? A bubble that could slide through the universe carrying you with it, just like that raindrop on the glass. The idea was so simple yet so profound. It wasn't about building a faster rocket. It was about changing the road. This is how great discoveries often start. They begin with a question, a daydream, a simple observation. The universe gives us clues all the time. They are in the dance of falling leaves, the ripples in a pond, and the light from distant stars. The trick is to be open to them, to let your imagination connect the dots in new and unexpected ways. For Josh, that little raindrop was more than just water. It was a key. In that moment, the entire design for what would one day be called a warp engine came to him all at once, though he didn't realize what it truly was until 34 years later. The spark of an idea had been lit. So, what is this warp drive idea? Let's forget about complicated math and confusing charts for a moment. Instead, let's think about something we all understand: a bubble. When you blow a bubble with soap, you are creating a thin film of water that separates the air inside from the air outside. The bubble has its own little space. A warp drive works on a similar principle but on a much grander scale. The goal is to create a bubble not of soap, but of space-time itself. This is the fabric of our universe, the very stage on which everything happens. Imagine you could gently bend this fabric around your spaceship. Inside this special bubble, your spaceship wouldn't actually be moving at all. It would be perfectly still. Think of yourself standing on a moving walkway at an airport. You are standing still, but the walkway is carrying you forward. The warp bubble is like that moving walkway. It moves through space, carrying your ship with it. The space in front of the bubble is compressed or squeezed together. The space behind the bubble is expanded or stretched out. This continuous process of squeezing space in the front and stretching it in the back is what pushes the bubble forward through the cosmos. To understand this better, let's use another metaphor: music. Think of space-time as a giant, invisible piano. Every point in space is like a key. Normally, all the keys are silent, creating the flat, calm space we know. A warp drive is like a musician that plays a specific chord on this piano. It presses down on some keys, compressing space, and lets others ring out, expanding space. This chord creates a wave, a vibration that travels across the piano. The spaceship rides inside this wave, this musical note, as it travels through the universe. The ship isn't flying, it's surfing on a wave of space-time. Finally, let's think about magnets. We all know that magnets can push and pull each other without touching. This invisible force is a great way to understand how a warp drive might work. The engine would need to create a powerful magnetic-like field, but one that affects space-time instead of metal. This field would pull space together in the front and push it apart in the back. By controlling this invisible force, we could control the movement of our bubble. So, a warp drive is like a bubble, powered by music and controlled by magnets. It's a way to travel without moving, to cross the universe by surfing its very fabric. At the very center of our imaginary warp drive engine, we need a source of immense energy. This is the heart of the machine, the part that provides the power to bend space. For this, scientists imagine using something called plasma. Plasma is often called the fourth state of matter, after solids, liquids, and gases. If you heat a gas to incredibly high temperatures, the atoms inside it break apart, creating a super hot, glowing cloud of charged particles. The sun and all the stars are giant balls of plasma. It is the most common state of matter in the entire universe, a substance crackling with raw energy. Imagine a small, perfectly contained ball of this glowing plasma right in the middle of our engine. This plasma ball would be hotter than the surface of the sun, swirling with incredible power. It would look like a miniature star, held safely in place. This is not pure science fiction. We can create and control plasma here on Earth in laboratories using powerful magnetic fields. Machines called tokamaks, which are used in fusion energy research, do exactly this. They use magnetic forces to hold a donut-shaped cloud of plasma, preventing it from touching the walls of the machine. Our warp drive would need a similar but even more advanced system. The purpose of this plasma ball is to act as an energy source. Think of it like the battery in a flashlight, but instead of providing electricity, it provides the fundamental energy needed to interact with space-time. The intense energy radiating from the plasma excites the space around it. It's like dropping a stone into a calm pond. The stone itself is the plasma ball, and the ripples it creates in the water are the disturbances in space-time that we need. Without this central powerful heart, the engine would be silent and cold. The plasma is the fuel for our journey. Holding this miniature sun in place is one of the biggest challenges. It requires a perfect balance of forces. The plasma wants to expand, to break free. The engine must create a cage of invisible forces to contain it. This cage would be made of carefully shaped magnetic fields, forming a bottle that holds the energy. In our starship geometry, the coils that generate these magnetic fields are arranged with one on top, one on the bottom, and one on each side of the plasma ball. When you combine the coil on top, the coil on the bottom, and the coils on the left and right, with the plasma ball at the center, you create a geometric shape known as a tetrahedron. This arrangement is not just visually striking, it's significant because the tetrahedron is one of the most stable and efficient ways to distribute forces in three-dimensional space, making it ideal for containing and focusing the immense energies needed for a warp drive. The plasma ball is therefore both the power source and the first step in creating our warp bubble. It is the engine's roaring heart, providing the raw strength needed to whisper to the fabric of the cosmos and ask it, gently, to bend. Now that we have our energetic heart, the plasma ball, we need to start shaping its power. We can't just let the energy radiate out in all directions. We need to focus it, to sculpt it into the precise shape needed to create our space bubble. This is where the first major component of our engine comes in, a large ring that goes around the plasma ball. This isn't a ring made of metal or plastic, it's a ring of pure focused magnetic force. Imagine a giant invisible donut made of magnetism, carefully placed around the central plasma sphere. Its job is to give the energy a gentle hug. This first magnetic ring acts like a lens. If you have a magnifying glass, you know that it can take scattered sunlight and focus it into a single hot point. This magnetic ring does something similar with the energy from the plasma. It gathers the raw, chaotic energy and shapes it. The ring takes the energy that wants to go everywhere and squeezes it, calming it down and preparing it for the next step. It's like a shepherd guiding a flock of sheep, using invisible fences to keep them all together and moving in the right direction. This ring provides the first layer of control. Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. The plasma ball is like a vibrating guitar string. It's making a sound, but it's wild and noisy. The first magnetic ring is like placing your finger on the fretboard. Suddenly, the wild vibration becomes a clear, specific note. This ring tunes the energy of the plasma, giving it a specific frequency, a particular hum. This hum is the first part of the song we need to play to make space-time listen. The ring doesn't create new energy, it simply organizes the energy that is already there, making it coherent and useful. The shape and strength of this magnetic ring are incredibly important. If the magnetic hug is too tight, it could snuff out the plasma. If it's too loose, the energy will escape and our engine will fail. It must be perfectly balanced, a steady and constant force that cradles the plasma's power. This first ring creates what we can call a stabilized energy field. It's the foundation upon which we will build our warp bubble. It takes the raw power of a star and tames it, turning a roaring fire into a focused beam of potential. So we have our plasma heart and our first magnetic ring to shape its energy. But to create a bubble that moves, we need more than just stable, focused energy. We need to create a difference, a contrast. We need to push and pull on space-time itself. This is the job of the second magnetic ring. Now this ring is different from the first one. It is not designed to be steady and stable. Instead, its purpose is to create the tension that will form the warp bubble. Imagine another larger invisible donut of magnetism placed outside the first one. This outer ring is the real muscle of the engine. This second ring is designed to do two things at once. The front half of the ring, the part facing the direction we want to go, generates a field that pulls. It creates a negative pressure, which is a scientific way of saying it attracts space-time, squeezing it together. Think of it like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, pulling the fabric of space toward it. This is what creates the compressed space at the front of our bubble. The spaceship doesn't have to fight its way through space. This ring clears the path by drawing the destination closer. At the same time, the back half of the ring does the exact opposite. It generates a field that pushes. It creates a positive pressure that expands space-time, stretching it out. This is what creates the expanded space behind our bubble. This expansion is what propels the bubble forward. It's like standing on a rug and having a friend suddenly stretch the part of the rug behind you. Even if you don't move your feet, you will slide forward. The combination of pulling space in the front and pushing it away in the back is what allows the bubble to slide through the universe. So we have a push and a pull happening at the same time, created by one very clever ring. It's this opposition, this dynamic tension, that forms the stable walls of our warp bubble. The compressed space in the front and the expanded space in the back create a self-contained pocket of normal, flat space-time on the inside. The spaceship sits safely within this pocket, protected from the extreme distortions happening just outside. The second ring is the artist that sculpts the wave, creating the trough and the crest that our ship will ride. We now have all the main pieces, the plasma heart, the taming inner ring, and the push-pull outer ring. But how do we turn them on and make them work together? And more importantly, how do we control them? We can't just flip a single switch and hope for the best. We need something that can control the push and pull with incredible speed and precision. This is the job of the final key component, the switching circuit. This isn't a simple on-off switch, it's more like the fingers of a master pianist, flying across the keys. The switching circuit is a sophisticated system that rapidly alternates the magnetic fields in the outer ring. It doesn't just turn the push and pull parts on, it makes them oscillate or vibrate at an extremely high frequency. Imagine you have two magnets. If you hold them still, they create a steady field. But if you start flipping one of them back and forth very quickly, you create a wave of magnetic energy. The switching circuit does this on a massive scale, flipping the polarity of the outer ring's fields millions of times per second. This rapid switching is what activates the space-time around the ship. This constant high-speed vibration is what makes the bubble stable. A static, unchanging field might not be enough to hold the bubble's shape, but a rapidly oscillating field creates a dynamic structure, much like the spinning of a top keeps it from falling over. The switching circuit sends energy pulsing through the outer ring, first a little push, then a little pull, back and forth in a perfect rhythm. This rhythm is the song we are playing on the piano of space-time. The plasma provides the power, the rings shape the power, and the switching circuit provides the beat. Think of it like bouncing a ball. If you just press down on the ball, it flattens. But if you bounce it with a steady rhythm, you can control its movement. The switching circuit is bouncing space-time. This rhythmic bouncing is what lifts the ship out of normal space and places it inside its own private bubble. Controlling this circuit is how a pilot would steer the ship. To go faster, you increase the frequency of the switching. To slow down, you decrease it. The switching circuit is the brain of the engine, translating the pilot's commands into the fundamental music of the cosmos. Once our warp bubble is created and stable, how do we make it go somewhere? This is where our metaphor of music becomes incredibly useful. A single, steady note can create the bubble, but to travel, we need to play a melody. The switching circuit allows us to change the tune of our warp drive. By changing the speed and the rhythm of the magnetic pulses, we can change the properties of our bubble. This is how we control our speed and direction, and perhaps even do things that seem even more fantastic. Imagine our warp drive is humming along at a steady rhythm, creating a bubble that moves at a certain speed. This is like playing a single note over and over. To go faster, the pilot doesn't press an accelerator pedal. Instead, they instruct the switching circuit to increase the frequency of the vibrations. They play the note faster. The pulses of push and pull in the outer ring get quicker and stronger. This increases the compression of space in the front and the expansion of space in the back, causing the bubble to slide through the universe at a greater velocity. Slowing down is as simple as playing the note more slowly. But what if we could do more than just change the speed of one note? What if we could change the note itself? A piano has many keys. Our warp drive could, in theory, be tuned to different frequencies of space-time. By changing the fundamental rhythm and the shape of the magnetic fields, we could change the very nature of our bubble. One song might be good for efficient long-distance travel. Another, more complex chord might allow the bubble to turn more sharply. It's a whole new way of thinking about navigation, based on harmony and rhythm instead of thrust and momentum. This leads to a truly mind-bending idea. What if certain songs, certain very specific and complex frequencies, could do more than just move the bubble? What if a precise chord played perfectly could resonate with the fabric of space-time in a unique way? Some scientists theorize that this could open a portal or a wormhole, a shortcut through space. It would be like finding a secret chord on the cosmic piano that doesn't just move you along the keyboard, but instantly transports you to a completely different part of the piano. This is highly theoretical, of course, but it shows how this technology, based on vibration and resonance, could unlock possibilities beyond simple travel. All of this talk of plasma balls, magnetic rings, and space-time music might sound like it belongs in a movie or a comic book. For a long time it did. The idea of a warp drive was pure science fiction. However, the line between fiction and fact is blurrier than you might think. Many of the concepts we've discussed are based on real, solid science that we use every day. The universe has already shown us that these principles are real. We just need to learn how to apply them on a cosmic scale. First, let's consider plasma. We know it's real. As mentioned, scientists are already working with it in fusion reactors like the ITER project in France. They're learning how to create, contain, and control superheated plasma with powerful magnetic fields. While their goal is to generate clean energy, the technology they are developing, powerful superconducting magnets and plasma containment systems, are the exact kinds of technologies a warp drive would need for its energetic heart. We are already building the foundational pieces. Now, let me introduce something brand new. Starship geometry. This is a concept I invented specifically to solve a unique problem: how to hold the plasma ball in its form, suspended perfectly within the rings. No one will know what starship geometry is because it's never existed before. But it was essential, along with the warp drive, to make the design work. Without this new geometry, the plasma ball would simply collapse or escape the rings. Next, think about bending the fabric of the universe. Does this really happen? Absolutely. Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity told us more than 100 years ago that massive objects bend space-time. We can see this effect. When light from a distant star passes by a massive galaxy, its path is bent, an effect called gravitational lensing. We have taken photos of this. We know space-time is not rigid, it is flexible. The challenge is figuring out how to bend it ourselves without needing an entire galaxy to do it. The warp drive is simply an attempt to engineer this known effect. Finally, what about the idea of negative energy or the push-pull effect? This is the most theoretical part, but even it has roots in real physics. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, scientists have observed something called the Casimir effect. This is a real, measurable force that arises from quantum fluctuations in empty space. It can create a kind of negative pressure between two closely spaced plates. While the forces we have measured are incredibly tiny, it proves that pushing on space is not a fantasy. It shows that the vacuum of space is not empty, but simmering with potential that we might one day tap into. The journey to the stars will not be easy. Building a real warp drive is one of the greatest engineering challenges humanity could ever face. It will require breakthroughs in physics, materials science, and energy production that we can only dream of today. There are many problems to solve, many questions we don't yet have answers to, but that is what science is all about. It's about asking big questions and not being afraid of the difficult path to find the answers. Every great journey begins with a single step. The story of the warp drive is a powerful reminder that every amazing technology, from the phone in your pocket to the planes in the sky, started as an idea. It began in someone's imagination. Someone dared to look at the world and ask, what if? What if we could talk to someone across the ocean? What if we could fly like birds? What if we could slide through space in a bubble? Imagination is not just for artists and storytellers, it is the most powerful tool a scientist or an engineer has. It is the engine of discovery. You have an imagination too. Right now in your mind you can travel to the edge of a black hole, dance on the rings of Saturn, or watch a nebula being born. You have ideas that nobody else has. You see the world in a way that is unique to you. Never let anyone tell you that your dreams are silly or impossible. The little observation you make, the quiet question you ask yourself, could be the spark that lights the way to the future. The universe is waiting for your ideas, so keep dreaming, keep asking questions. Learn about the world, look at the stars, and let your mind wander. Think about the big mysteries and the small wonders. The next great leap for humanity might not come from a famous scientist in a billion-dollar laboratory. It might come from you. The journey to understanding and exploring our incredible universe is a journey for all of us. And it begins always with the courage to imagine. The cosmos is calling. How will you answer? Here are some incredible designs created by our viewer. Enjoy this gallery of creativity and innovation. My name is Joshua. I give all my knowledge freely for the betterment of humanity, one as many as one. This transmission comes through the Christ field, guided by the harmonic codex.